Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, the World Wide Web of Lending. Thanks for visiting my page or coming back. For you first-time viewers, appreciate you coming and hope you learned something today. So the series is called The Harmony Between an Agent and Lender Relationship and what the consumer can benefit with that relationship being stronger. And today's episode is with a special friend of mine, Jessica, who I've invited to my house. We're gonna have some fun and talk about some good stuff. But it's about the first-time home buyer support that is needed, which is different from someone who's buying a second home or investment property. So hope you learned something and have some fun, and let's get started. Jessica's been waiting for us. Let's not keep her waiting. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm very excited to introduce to you my friend Jessica Byrne from Long & Foster. She's got some fun conversations today. But Jess, before we get started, tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I've been an agent with Long & Foster for 4.5 years. I'm on the home and land team. I'm originally from Baltimore, and I moved up to Harford County about 20 years ago. I am married with 2 little girls and 4 cats.
Fur babies.
Mm-hmm.
Jessica, tell the audience, there are a lot of agents out there. If someone needs an agent, there are plenty of great options. What do clients say is something different about you that you'd want to share today?
Clients have told me that I'm a little bit more down to earth than other realtors. And I feel like I'm definitely more honest. Like that's definitely the most important thing to me.
It's a shame in this world that being honest and a nice person kind of puts us ahead of the game. But I appreciate, who you are, and I've experienced that myself. So thank you for being so honest. Okay, so the first-time home buyer, very special group of folks that we help. Obviously, we love all of our clients, but there's just something different about the first-time home buyer experience. What would you say when you sit down with a first-time home buyer? What is the most important thing that we should focus on?
Location and budget are the most important thing. I think that's usually one of the first questions I ask a first-time home buyer. And then it's my job to match their preferred location to a comfortable budget. And I think a good team would walk a first-time home buyer through the process, just because they might be a little nervous about the process and unfamiliar. So it's important to, walk them through every step of the process, just so that there's no surprises.
So when you say location, do you mean specifically in a neighborhood, or do you mean like county and general town kind of thing?
That kind of varies from client to client. Okay. Some clients want to be in a specific area, but others are, kind of flexible on location. They just have other, they have more of other wants and needs as far as a house. And
obviously a first-time home buyer might not realize that within their budget and a price point that could slide them into or out of certain locations, and it's important to have that conversation.
Yeah, definitely.
I think you hit the nail on the head with budget. That's like the big one for any client, but a first-time home buyer has never experienced that mortgage payment, right? So the closest thing that a first-time home buyer is going to have to a mortgage payment is rent. Now, if you are at home with your parents, that is an amazing thing. I hope you are saving thousands of dollars a month. But for those folks that are renting, it is a good place for me to start on the lending side to see what that rent payment is and kind of go from there and say, okay, with that rent payment being $1,400 or $1,500, how much are you saving? Is that budget comfortable? Is it tight? Are you carrying no debt because you have plenty of disposable income? Or are you kind of living paycheck to paycheck, which is fine. We just need to kind of budget that in. Mm-hmm. That helps me compare it to a mortgage payment. And for those watching and for most first-time home buyers, the major difference between rent and a mortgage payment are the property taxes and the insurance. So it's just a different part. And when we have that conversation with a first-time home buyer, they may not realize that whatever calculator they're looking at online doesn't factor that in. We want to get that straight. But inside of their budget, if they are paying their bills and there's money left over and they want to use that towards a would-be mortgage payment, it's a great conversation to have. On the flip side, if we're not transparent and honest with them about what we're seeing and what makes them comfortable, we can kind of get into trouble. So I agree with you. That budget thing is probably, top of the line for any client, but for a first-time home buyer, I think it's on us to bring it up.
Yeah, and as far as sale price, they might not have any idea what they would qualify for, and what their monthly payment would be according to what the sales price is.
So we had a client recently that was a first-time home buyer, kind of like middle-aged first-time home buyer, super awesome lady. How was that experience for you when you guys first started chatting? Because you called me after you guys had a couple conversations.
Well, she was buying a condo a little bit sooner than she wanted to, just because of her situation. So she was understandably nervous about the whole process, because it was a new thing to her. But I feel like we were super communicative with her, and walked her through every step of the process, regardless of what time it is. We answered her text messages. And I feel like hopefully it was a good experience for her, that we were very communicative with her.
When she called me, I don't know if I told you this or not, one of the first things that this lady said was, I'm probably not going to find anything, but I just want to know my budget. And that was a really special experience to go from that initial, I guess you could say, skepticism, right?
Yeah.
To that day when you were like, we're going to submit an offer. I asked her, I said, this is real. I guess you found one. And she was kind of laughing, and it was exciting. And then we got the contract, and it was super, super cool. So that was really unique. And I remember in that moment as a first-time home buyer, both of us kind of took the time to let her know how exciting it was. And it's kind of rare to get that contract so quick in this market. This was 2024 when we were helping this client, but I think that made it very special for her. That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
So if we can talk about another topic in a second, I want to go to another location and kind of show some fun parts of my house. But this is great. This is really good for the audience to kind of see the difference between the two. And it's really great to work with someone like yourself where we know that experience is going to be there. Awesome. Cool. Let's go to the next topic.
Okay.
All right, Jessica, is there anything we may have left out of the budget that you think the first-time home buyers watching in our audience should hear?
So it's super important that everyone is on the same page about the budget. I would hate it if I show a buyer a house and then discover later on that they're not qualified for it. And then when it comes time to make an offer, it's important to be aware of the market conditions. And especially in a particular area, a house might be more desirable in a particular area than others.
More competitive.
Yeah. So, and it's important to see, if you do have any wiggle room as far as your offer price, or it is a better idea to, go over the asking price.
I think that sounds so common sense, but it's not. And so I want the audience to hear about this crazy story. So I think I may have told you about it. So I was introduced to a first-time home buyer from an agent connection, a friend of mine. And she said, hey, they didn't have a good experience with the last lender, kind of take over. Everything went great. We connected. Awesome young couple down in PG County, Maryland. Here's where the problem came in. I simply asked about your budget because we do that up front, like we just established, right? And the problem is they said, well, here's our desired payment range. And I knew right away without a calculator that it just seemed a little off for that market area, like you said. So what I did, I said, okay, did you have your pre-approval from your last lender? She goes, yeah, here you go. It did not have a payment on it. So I said, okay, well, let me do some quick math. I said, what is the last offer, the last house you looked at? She goes, oh, we actually made an offer on a home. And I said, well, that's perfect. So she gave me the actual listing. They did not get the offer. Someone else beat them out, and someone else has that house now. But she gave me the information. They made an offer. hoping to get accepted. She had no idea what the mortgage payment would have been. The person just said, you are pre-approved for this home. And here's what happened. They really managed their finances well. Their comfortable payment was way lower than what they can actually qualify for based on their income and their assets and their credit. There was a big gap there. So the actual mortgage payment in this case would have been about $4,500. Their comfort payment capped out at $3,900. And she said to me, $4,000 would be a dream home.
Wow.
And it's a first time home. That was a scary experience. And I didn't really know what to do. I got kind of shell shocked, and to shut me up is very hard. But I said to her in that moment, I said, it is a good thing you didn't get that offer accepted, because there would have been some drama. And then I explained to her. So It does seem silly to say before you make an offer or before you go see a home to make sure that it's in your budget, but not everybody does that. And if the agent and the lender aren't really working together to make sure that number is comfortable, it can be a situation that you do not want to be in. So I'm glad you mentioned that. It's a good point. I'm glad we didn't forget that. Okay. One more thing I want to talk about, really important. I want to show you my podcast area, even though we're not going to be using the equipment. And I'll sneak one more question out if it's okay with you.
Sure.
Awesome. Great. Thanks. All right, so this is the last topic I wanted to bring up real quick. I have a question for Jessica, but for those of you watching, I'm giving you a sneak peek actually, because I invited Jessica to my house for one reason, not to give her a tour, although I appreciate you being so nice with that. It was because I wanted to show her my podcast studio. Just released my first podcast, and it's getting started. I kind of wanted to show her where the magic's happening down here. Okay, question for you, back to the episode. I don't want to digress too much with my excitement. You mentioned earlier in our conversation about the process. Question for you, first-time home buyer, how important is it to tell them about the entire process up front as opposed to just kind of telling them step by step what's going on? What's your opinion on that?
I think it's super important to at least go over the entire process, just so there's no surprises down the road. And that way we would set expectations for them about what we expect from them. Down the road, we can explain more in detail. We don't want to overwhelm them with all the information, but it's definitely a good idea to go over, just go over the process right off the bat.
Yeah, I think the timelines are big too, because again, if you've purchased a home, even if it's been a long time, you kind of remember like those milestones, but as your first time, you don't have them. So yeah, I kind of want to just double back on that one and kind of go from there. Well, I think we really have a lot of cool information. I really appreciate you coming today. For those of you who don't know, I'm going to tell you a secret. This is actually the second take. Jessica and I recorded this a couple weeks ago before the new year, and there was no audio the entire time. So thank you so much for coming back and having round two. But I'm going to put all of her information. If you like some of the things we talked about today and felt that Jessica is a kind of a cool vibe and down to earth that you might enjoy, and you're in the market for a home, you can give my friend a call. I'll put her information in the comment, in the description section of the episode. Please, I'm trying to grow something really cool here about educating anybody on the home buying journey. There's some other stuff on the YouTube channel, like my podcast. Do me a favor, please comment, like, and subscribe based on whatever you feel is appropriate. Really hope that you can find the other episodes pretty easily. Love to see you back, and thank you so much for your time. So saying goodbye from the World Wide Web of Lending, I'm your host, Joe Webb. My guest today, Jessica Byrne from Long & Foster. We'll see you next time. Thank you.